Now, having heard this backstory, what is an entanglement?
But wait, so what is really the bone of contention now? That one party is saying
Thank
it's
you.
just an entanglement.
This is exactly my issue with August. I love the name August. I love the month. I love it as a word. But I don't like this guy for what he's doing now. Seriously, this is serious kiss and tell. Like, why are you telling the world? Because you are hurt that she's moved on? Look,
Or he thought she would never move back to her husband. Or I mean,
I think he had such
high
expectations,
hopes.
that thinking that. But what were you thinking? This is when we should all be mindful, because I even know of ladies who go through that. Even as ladies, sometimes you go through that. You get entangled. Yes, now that's the word we're working with.
you get
Entangled with somebody's husband, separated husband. The man comes and tells you, I'm separated from my wife, there's nothing going on, so you and I can go on. They're not divorced.
Yeah.
So whatever you want to do with a separated man, you need to know that this thing doesn't have 4 legs. At most, it has 2 legs or 3.
So it's
It's not stable.
balanced.
So you need to be very careful when you're dealing with such people. They can always go back. I mean, you actually sometimes see a man who's been on your case and keeps telling you, I am separated, I'm separated. And then before you know it, Mr. Separated wife is pregnant. How did this happen?
It happened in the separation.
During the
In the
separation.
separation. Okay. First of all, the first thing I want to say about this whole situation is that I think the guy is being very immature. And I think I agree that the Jada calls it an entanglement, because maybe if we were like a more matured man, they would have just buried this thing quietly and then everybody moves on. But you know, when you go and find, like, from the perspective of a man, you go and find this little 18 or 17-year-old virgin, and then you sleep with her once, and then now she's on your tail. That is how
She thinks you have to be her husband, though, because you're the first person that did this.
I really think that's like, it looks very similar. And so I agree. Like, I have endorsed the word entanglement. Like, henceforth, anybody that can't just let you go. I mean, we're just playing.
You were playing, and
We
they
were
took the
playing.
thing serious.
We were just playing. Like, we can play. You understand? Let's get this thing.
You were playing small pools, and then they decided to use it as World Cup.
Exactly.
But I also think, I guess it's hurt because of where he's coming from. Look, this was a very vulnerable man, and I think this is the part that we are not paying a lot of attention to. We are joking about entanglement and all, but I don't think we would joke if we flip it. If Jada was Will Smith, if Will Smith was the one at the red table having to explain himself, being with a younger woman coming up in the showbiz world,
And who was also
we won't be this kind. We won't joke and play with the word entanglement. August was a guy who had serious issues. I mean, people die out of drug overdose. People lose their life's work. They lose their lives and everything they ever thought they could be because of drug abuse. So this guy was, excuse me to say,
he was in a
almost at the point of being a damaged good. Like, he was very vulnerable. And whoever comes to help such person, they become sort of reliant on you.
Yeah.
Watching him on the Red Table Talk, talking about how Jada helped, and Jada's phone call crying made him want to change his life. That is somebody who suddenly felt like, you make me want to live differently. And this is one of the ways you define what love is. When
like
somebody,
the person
you know, and he talked about that, saying, to think that somebody else loved me that much than I've ever loved myself made me want to say, I want to change my life. So this guy now felt so vulnerable, saw in Jada the light and everything, and became probably reliant on him. I was saying, oh, maybe I guess was the one that made the first move. But I think from where Jada is coming from, Jada should have been more protective of him and say, you're falling, but don't. You're falling because of the position you are in. Don't get me wrong, myself included, I have made some very insane decisions because of my emotional state. You know, I have been at a position where I felt I'm so weak, and the next person available to me, I was just holding and clinging on to them. Something prior to that emotional state I wouldn't have. So once, if that person now becomes predatory, they can take advantage of me or anybody in my shoes and do whatever they want with people like me.
But you know something I'm also thinking about? We are also talking about Jada, who probably was going through a separation. Now, are we also looking at the fact that she was in a place mentally which was not the best? The man that probably she had
Because she was separated,
and
and then they have to deal with
they have to deal with the whole internet and social media thing, having
society,
to
explain themselves
that maybe they are separated, and then here she's spending more time with someone
who's also there. It's like two people who are not very.
Then you also mentioned that she was a sex addict. So then there's been also a history of addiction from her part. What I think at this point is that, sometimes when you are in a very vulnerable place, you do not try to reach out to another vulnerable person, because if you are not careful, probably you haven't fully recovered. Their own situation is going to enact yours, and then both of you are going to be in a bad place together, and you might end up making them worse than you found them, although the intention was to
make them better.
So I also think that it's an issue of somebody who thought she was fully done with her demons, quote and unquote, and now she
in the position to help other people.
Somebody. But not until you have tested yourself, you can't be really sure that you're done with those demons. So in trying to help the person, then she began to mirror it and be like, oh, this was how, or something similar to what I was. I feel so much pity for this guy. Then it developed probably into feelings, and then the guys who seeing her as that almighty person, not seeing the past or her past, just looking at who she represents to him now, then they both came crashing each other. And Jada has someone to go back to at the end of the day, and that is why we are seeing is that he's the one ranting. Probably if it were the other way around, Jada would have also been the one
ranting.
So I just see it as
or maybe she won't say it publicly, but within at home she'll be hurting.
Yeah, so I just see it as maybe an unfortunate situation. I really don't want to say like I blame this person. I mean, I saw the whole predatory part, but this lady in question is not even okay herself. So I can't for sure say that.
I think talking about Jada's own past, I think this makes it all look like it's similar to when they say hurt people hurt people. This is somebody who's coming from a place of hurt and all that. She was going through so much. Maybe she was not hurt, but she was not entirely okay. Bearing in mind her history and the fact that she was being separated from Will, a man that for a long time the whole world has. When you think of Jada, you think of Will. When you think of Will, you think of Jada. Like there are two peas in a pod. So it was difficult to separate, and the fact that they were separated on the low.
And another aspect of this thing that I want to see is the pressure, the social media pressure. I think that as people behind the scenes, social media people, we give so much pressure
to people, celebrities. I mean, these are not so-called, by the way, they are celebrities, international
we give
level.
Them so much pressure, wanting them to put up a certain
front.
Because what would make someone say that we are divorced or we are separated but we are not going to sign? Probably because you don't want an evidence of the fact that we are not together, and then we go into a pact that no matter what happens, we are never going to divorce.
Now they consider themselves life partners, not even married people, life partners. So they've agreed that there's, and I mean, Will has said several times that there's nothing that Jada can do that will make him divorce her. Now, even talking about that, I think he probably meant it when he said it. Every time he said it, it was something he's sure about. I think it will be tested in this moment. Sometimes you say there's something you would never do until it is tested, until it is really tested. Maybe the thing has been tested in private. So you were able to react to it in a way that you've always felt, oh yeah, I can handle this. Now that it's in the open.
I mean, the very thing that you're running from people not knowing.
No way. And then now
we know. So then what's there to protect again?
Yeah, so now you're asking, this is when his decision is being tested as to whether he meant it when he said there's nothing Jada can do that will make me. And Jada has also said the same. It's like they'll probably they will just stay in the same house, and one person will be on the east wing, another on the west wing.
This, I think, is like the major part is because of the pressure that we, the observers, give people, making them feel they need to live in a certain way, to live up to a certain expectation. Even if it hurts them, they have to do it so that we don't get talking. And I think another thing is about the business. You know, when you build brands together, especially when the brand is personal, it's different if you just had a business that is a separate entity on its own. We cannot be in the background and be running it. But here we are the brand. So getting a divorce or separating means that we are sort of dissolving the brand, or because the brand is Jada and Will. Now, are you going to do it individually? I think a lot of things come into play. It shows that even as partners, when you are having a business, I think you should, I mean, nobody prays for divorce or separation, but you should have like a backup plan. I mean, okay, what happens if we are separated, just in case? Are we going to be able to be matured enough to continue with the brand without hurting each other? We both be. But
can it work? A situation where Jada and Will are divorced, or people like them, not necessarily only them, but people like them are divorced, and their brand can still sell. I mean, as somebody who works in that in such industry, I don't think so. I think it will be challenged for a while.
It will be challenged,
but it can work if they decide to be friendly exes.
Exactly. And when they have children,
and when they
parents,
you see, and when they become friendly exes, for the period they are single friendly exes, it can still work until you start having relationships, separate relationships with other people. Then other people are going to be infused in your brand, and then it becomes something else. So you cannot sell the two of us brand anymore, because now there are 4 of you, and even that will limit the friendship between you two.
If there are 4 of you, I think it's even easier. But if there are 3 of you, now somebody's going to start getting jealous. If there are 3 of you, now
you're seeing the other person move on, and your life is on standstill. You're wondering what is life about anymore.
But I think for all these personal brands, people need to look at the future. I mean, when you set it out, you need to see what happens. I mean, nobody prays for bad things to happen. But then I'm thinking about the consent bit you were talking about. Like that part, I'm very interested. Like, how does he give
his consent when he's vulnerable?
Give his consent to, I guess, to have a relationship.
Okay. About, I guess, asking Will for the blessings. Well, the 2 of them, Will and Jada, are saying that didn't happen. So this is the case where Mr. I guess Entanglement or sinner. If you have proof, you have to show that.
But you know, sometimes consent, that consent he spoke about may not be like expressly said. Yes, my wife, have her. But when I come to take her out for a date, and you're sitting there
and you don't have a problem,
and I give her a kiss and you say nothing, and I take her out and I bring her back at 12 midnight, or I bring her back in 3 days' time, that is consent, because you don't have any problem with it. So he didn't need to come and say permission to take your wife out. I mean, you know what I mean?
Well, to an extent, but then don't forget that they are industry mates, and this was supposed to be the guy my wife is helping. He's like our son's age.
So your wife
is helping him. Well, like you're saying, unless it's the kissing things, if he witnessed things like that and let it slide, then. But then again, these are people who've been in the news with rumors surrounding the fact that they are in an open marriage. I think this even came up before the I guess thing came up. So maybe this is a little bit. But first of all, as much as I spend time on my vlog talking about this, I'm asking, what is our business in this? These are 3 adults.
Three adults
deciding to do this.
And 2 consenting adults deciding to have sex.
And then one person is pained and decide to kiss and tell. The only thing I'm concerned about is the fact that I guess was a vulnerable man that this guy did. But like you also explained, but like you also explained, you, I think, like you said, they were two vulnerable people because even though Jada never came out to cry to the world that my heart is broken and all. After so many years together, when you are suddenly separated, you are definitely hurt. Your heart is broken. So she was also a heartbroken person trying to help out a guy. And then fire sparks, things went on, and then something happened between them. And when they went their separate ways, I would expect that our guest respects that and let it go. I mean, you cannot fall in love with somebody's wife. That's somebody's wife. If you have to chop, you chop and clean mouth.
No, I don't agree with you because he did not force to fall in love with her. I mean, they were both consenting. And like he said, they were in an open marriage. You know, when two people are behind closed doors, you cannot really tell what goes down. You cannot tell what promises they made to each other. Because I don't see somebody who thinks that, oh, I'm just doing this thing and quickly going back now starts to cry foul when things go bad. So probably it's based on a certain premise that this is a discussion we've had. Oh, don't worry, I'm divorced from my husband. I mean, there's so many things that could be fueling this.
Yeah, you know, the things they said
in
their coziness. Those things,
you know,
sometimes, you get led on. No, because I get you, because this is some of the excuses a lot of us women make when we are heartbroken. We say, I am so hurt because I was that invested because he led me on.
Yeah. And I think
so it is likely that I want to be fair to him that maybe he was also led on.
Things we sympathize with them, and I think it wouldn't be fair that because
he's a guy, so don't.
So I think it was just two people, and with these things you never get to know the real truth because there's always this person's side of the story, this
that
other person's side, and then there's the real story.
The real story.
So I mean, not until you know the real story, and that's why I always tell people that because you know what I mean?
Yeah, like at every year of my life, I take this more seriously. Every year of my life, I take this more seriously because when I look at some of the things I said I would never do, and now, like Jaden and what's the other guy's name who used to look like Ellen? She's married now. Justin Bieber.
Yeah.
Why did I describe him like that? Jeez, God. I'm sorry. Jaden and Bieber said, never say never.
Yeah.
Because there are things that you would, today you can confidently say, I would never do. And some people will go to the center, it's about principles. If it's your principle, you will not do it.
And that's
Honey, I had principles, unfortunately.
And that's why you shouldn't also judge people because, today, the stance you have on an issue can change in 6 months and all of that. I mean, you can... So now, anytime I say something, I give a disclaimer. I mean,
I can change my...
I can change my...
Listen to me, okay? For the moment I'm saying something, I mean it. Because I'm saying it based on the facts available to me, based on the things I have seen. That's what I'm saying. But if in a year, in 10 years, things change and I see things differently, I'll be the honorable person that I am, and I'll come out and tell you that. You see what I said 10 years ago? Hold on a minute. Now this is what I think it should be. And I think I should be allowed to do that. Like, I'm a woman, I'm allowed to change my mind. I'm human, actually. And it happens to the best of us. We get to change our mind.
It is only cowards who realize that things have changed and still want to keep to that old standard.
Well, look, cheers to detangling entanglements. And to being entanglement free because we want the real deal.
We want the real package.
The real package.
So in this month, I wish you no entanglements at all.
Amen. I want the real deal. Look at us. We are single.
You are single.
I thought we were single together.
Disclaimer.